Steve and I were talking off air just a little bit, and we can talk about the fire and other things here. But just to give you a heads up, folks, of how they truly want you to die. Chernobyl was open for 10 days, and it was one reactor, and they had it entombed. Now, it's still melted through the core and the bottom, and that's not good, and it's still killing millions of people, mutating animals and plants, and certainly kids. These are 6 reactors. They tell you about 4, but 5 and 6 are in dire shape, too. The 3 reactors have already been vaporized. They don't know where they went. They're throwing cooling water on them. 4 is ready to go, but the first 3 have delivered enough to kill us all. And days after 3/11, the U.S. Army knew how severe this program was. In fact, the aircraft carrier Reagan, I think it was, or Lincoln, was en route to help these people evacuate, and they ran into the radiation cloud and set off all the meters and get our fleet out of here now. And they did an immediate 90-degree turn to the south to get out of the radiation cloud. That's how bad it was. But they had a plan to entomb these things days after they went off. They know how bad the situation is. You got to get this covered. We'll send help, the tankers, the boron, the zeolite. And they knew the military personnel participating were on a kamikaze mission. They won't live. None of the pilots from Russia lived, no matter how much they put lead shields on the helicopters. And Japan gave them permission to use the airfields and get on it. Somebody pulled the plug and thought it was a better idea for us to die. Now, I remember talking to Bob Nichols of Los Alamos about Tokyo. Why didn't they evacuate Tokyo with 10 million people, I think it is, or 23 million people? And they did a cost analysis, Steve. They said it probably cost us way over $40 million immediately. And number 2, where do we put them? Because no matter where we put them, they're homeless. They're hungry. They don't have any furniture. They have their clothes on their back. And what will they do with them? And besides that, they're not going to live any longer than 10 years now. So let's not spend the money. So they know they're condemned to death.
Well, absolutely. And by the way, the estimate to move them is in the billions. I think that million is a displacement. Okay. Yeah. I had heard that the estimated cost to relocate and move everybody was in like $4 billion.
Right. But the thing is, they did a cost analysis and said, it ain't worth it. You're going to die anyway.
Well, I got news for you. That should be the wake-up call to every American citizen above ground who's non-military right now and non-banking or not the elite. Guess what? It's kind of like, guess who's coming to dinner? And the answer is, we're all on the menu.
Yeah. Zombie food.
Zombie food. Hey, by the way, another breaking zombie article. Another one, okay? Woman, high on bath salts. New York woman says, I want to kill someone and eat them. Another one.
I don't know if it's, like we said, I think that bath salts.
That's bull. Oh, I'm sorry. I almost said it. That's BS.
Yeah. I think that's just cover for, like, the FEMA and Maine is now planning for a zombie virus. Well, we know radiation mutates things, and it can certainly mutate a virus.
Well, absolutely. One of the things I wrote about years ago in Genetic Armageddon, and I've addressed this so many times on talk radio, what are the interrelationships when you take the chemtrail spraying, that which we know and can identify, versus that which we don't know and haven't identified yet? When you couple that with electromagnetic weather warfare, and in other words, radio waves, if you will, can have a mutagenic or mutation-producing effect. Then add in the Fukushima radiation, and you go with MOX and the plutonium out there. See, the bottom line is this is the great culling, C-U-L-L-I-N-G. Maybe someone should put out a bumper sticker, ready to be culled, or call 1-800-White House. The bottom line is that we're in a position now, John, where everything has happened at once. I remember I used to get let's just say my fingers crushed. I'll change the anatomy for the sake of those who get so easily offended. When I would say this will not be a linear event. It will be a spherical event. It will all be happening from once. I defined it as this. You'll go to the left thinking there's escape. There's no escape. You'll turn to the right, no escape. You'll look ahead of you to the north or behind you to the south or above you or beneath you. And it will be as the writing on a basketball. You're experiencing all this indirectly. Let me give you an example of how something can be dead but pretend to live. These people that have gotten a lethal dose of radiation, they still are able to breathe, maybe distressedly. They're still able to eat if they can hold it down, but they're in effect, they're dead. You follow me? They've gotten a critical dosage of radiation. So my guess is, and I was told this by insiders, and let them take all that I say to the Lord in prayer and ask, but the zombie protocol is anybody who's left alive above ground other than the elite.
Let me reemphasize a personal story here. Happened Saturday. Saturday. I built a greenhouse last year for my wife exactly for this reason. Finally she got her one, and it's 25 by 25, so we hope to grow some of our own fresh organic food. I got wiped out 4 times last year by the aphids. This year we thought we had it under control. Plants are coming up. It was looking good. From Thursday to Saturday, the aphids came in and wiped out the spinach, the beets, and the carrots. And, we had to go emergency spray and bring in ladybugs, and they died. And so here you're counting on a food supply, folks, that hasn't harvested yet. You can be wiped out by drought, by radioactive rain, by pests. And so now, we got to start over. It can happen that quick. So the importance of having a backup plan, such as I'm not going to rely on that garden or that occasional deer walking through my yard because he's probably radiated too. I can't emphasize enough. Protect your family because they've said if a natural disaster happens or an EMP or panic, which is more likely, economic collapse, I've heard the general say within a year, 90% of us won't be here.
Well, I think that's true because, there's PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, then there's PETAs, and you add a M&S after PTAMS, P-I-T-A-M-S, okay? That stands for Pain in the Ass Media Shills, okay? And even now, I think it's on InfoWars, media dismisses warning about tyranny and troops on the street as kooky conspiracy theory. When I hear someone using the word conspiracy theory, and I want to share this with you, I know that they are already programmed by the machine, the telepresence or the screen. It's no media conspiracy that we've got those damn Russian bombers, and when I say damn, I mean that are opposed to the living God. Those, maybe a better word would be damnable or headed for damnation. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, they can say what they want. You see, John, here's the point. The normalcy bias and the frequency of what we're used to prevents us, along with mind control, the fluoride, all the different additives in our food, our water, etc., from being able to be cognizant or even critical thinking anymore. The media, they are the biggest group of reality denying, and I'm going to use a great word, ghouls, that have ever been allowed to put their slop on newsprint or on a keyboard. Let's call it paper news goulash, okay? Ghoul ash. In other words, nothing they say is any longer investigative. It is nothing more than it's howdy-doody time. Their information isn't worth a dime, and they would be happy knowing that what lies before them is being turned into Frankenstein. That's my little poem for them for the day.
You and I have been reporting for the longest time about these massive bird kills and fish kills, and everybody just ignores it after a one-day news cycle. And I think that Undersecretary of the Navy got his ass taken out because he knew too much. And we also around the Gulf area. Now, you've heard of Operation Bye Bye Blackbird from the 60s, haven't you, Steve?
Yes.
Okay, well, for those who haven't, it was a program by our government to exterminate large populations of wildlife. For instance, they have killed 1 million brown-headed cowbirds, 1,300,000 European starlings, 1,000,000 red-winged blackbirds, Canadian goose, 24,000, pigeons, 100,000, crackles, 100,000, starlings, European, 1.3 million. These numbers are just for 2009. They are intentionally putting chemicals out there in our environment. Now, if it kills birds, what do you think it is to us? And remember, Steve said the key word, cumulative. All this stuff is cumulative.
Well,
they have the ability to kill off, vast regions of states. They can certainly ratchet it up a little bit for us.
John, tell me the feedback you get in your chat room and the emails. Do you see people even getting a sense that if they have children and grandchildren, that these wicked principalities and powers and basically ghouls and what I call figures from nightmares, that they are planning on destroying everything? The Bible says that the children are the heritage of the Lord, and that a godly man will take care of his grandchildren. So therefore, what I don't think people understand with all this population growth and control BS is that if children are a heritage of the Lord, then by aborting 70 million babies, you've just knocked off God's heritage. And the point being is that what's going on now, it's the elderly. God forbid, when I see the future for the elderly outside of a move of God, it is so dire that I can't even bring myself to talk about it on radio because it breaks me up that much.
Well, they know they have to get rid of the elderly because of the Social Security and Medicare expenses and the budget busting stuff. And this radiation affects the elderly and the young at 3 times the rate it does somebody with a healthy immune system, because their cells don't replicate as fast, or in the youngsters, they replicate twice as fast. And my message out there to prep people, you and I are 60, about the same age. And, the Lord's blessed us with a good run. I've got one child, and I've given her radiation purifiers for the water. I've given her boron, given her Fallout X, a safe supply of food. But I guess my message I try to reach out to is the grandparents and the fathers and mothers out there is like, it's your babies they're after. And the mortality rate has already doubled since Fukushima.
And if you wouldn't, and I want to say this to every Christian out there, if you wouldn't speak out to the babies that couldn't speak out for themselves, and you feel that somehow you're doing God a favor by, turning in pew time, then ask yourself this: where are they who could have spoken up and fought for you? They're dead. See, John, that's the interesting thing. You know why the elderly have to be killed off? I'll make it real succinct and easy. Because they're the ones who remember what 2 words meant, freedom and liberty. They're the ones who practiced their faith. They're the ones who stood for a generation that was yet to be born. And yet this generation that has been born, they're so totally consumptive that all they care about is the newest video game, the newest drug, or the newest impulse of the moment, or tune of the moment, or new rock star. Unfortunately, the bottom line is the rock stars tend to fall. The more these people put them on pedestals, the less they become worthy of the adoration ascribed to them. We are a nation of idolatrous wickedness. We are a murderous, barbaric nation, and now we're killing off the prime asset, or going to allow to be killed off, the elderly. They're the only ones that knew. And by the way, in my opinion, they're the only ones that can probably redeem this thing. It's the same thing for veterans. It's why, ladies and gentlemen, 950,000 veterans are being denied their benefits. That any vet, and I say this with the full fury and I believe backing of heaven, when you discard the people that have fought for freedom and throw them on the trash heap of homelessness, you just basically said, freedom, you're kidding. We want total enslavement. We want total control. We want total devastation. So that's when, I think most people should tend to rise up and speak up and act up. If they won't even take, John, let me ask you this. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, I used to say this, but you can shove a hose down their throat and force feed them. The point is that we've been force feeding people who up until this point when their bellies were fed and their entertainment, what would you say, quota has been met for the week, they might listen to us as quote unquote cheap entertainment or those crazy Armageddon guys. But the point is that all, and I will say this, just as all roads led to Rome because there were no roads before Rome built them, all leading indicators lead to meltdown. All visual and images that are being put into place and funded lead to martial law. I got to tell you, John, people had better wake up because you and I can never be accused, never. We're accused of everything and anything, but it's not that we didn't care and try and make a difference. You have your issues, I have my issues. Neither one of us are goody two-shoes poster boys, okay? But by the redemption of the living God, we've been able to say people, and that's the bottom line in trying to warn people. Look, you and I have to ask the question, why will they be continuing to interfere with us if what we're saying is just, quote, conspiracy theory or, fear-mongering?
You know, I thought about the same topic this morning after you and I made contact, and fully, of course, the airways are yours anytime. But I thought, I sin so much. I should probably spend 5 hours a day asking for forgiveness. But
no, I say this: praise God for 1 hour a day. You'd be surprised how your issues needing forgiveness go inversely proportional to the amount of praise. Look, here's the deal: you can't change yourself.
Let me finish here. It just hit me like a lightning bolt. It's like, look, Stokes, if you're going to go to hell and commit the biggest sin you ever can, that would be unforgivable, in my opinion, that if you know something and you don't tell these people, or you have information that could be helpful to just even one, and you keep it to yourself because you're too busy, it's not going to be good for ratings. I'd rather talk about, new sports cars. And if I don't share it, I don't allow you to share it, I don't think I'm going to be judged very well.
No.
And you said something earlier that struck a funny bone with me, because you asked me the same question 5 years ago. You said, John, what do you call people that you lead them to the water and they won't drink it? And I said, dead.
Hey, touche, okay?
It's dead.
And that's when after that, I think I used the term dumb unto death,
Yep. Yeah. And it continues. I'll give you a good example of programming and how people just automatically do things like sheep. You've seen this horrible thing the young men are doing, wearing their pants down past the crack of their ass or even lower and showing off their undies. And they, the rappers started it, and all the black kids started it, and even the dumbass white kids started it. You know where that came from? Prison. It was a signal to the other prisoners that this butt was available for sex. It was a way to transmit that you're ready to engage in sex with anybody, and you're walking around the prison yard showing it off. That was how they telegraphed that they were available for homosexual sex. And now these jerks run all across America think it's a fashion statement.
Well, all I can say is that they better. Hey, can I tell you something? They better get adult-shaped diapers, because they're going to be puddling their britches and dumping their drawers when this thing hits, because it's going to be that bad, that quick, that disheartening, and that psychologically disturbing.
One of the topics you want to hit on was morality. I visited Key West about, 20 years ago. And first and only time, I was down there at one of the famous bars or whatever, and it was a gay bar. Didn't know it until I walked in. And I said, how come these guys are wearing all these bulky shorts? They said they're wearing Depends. I go, well, why? Because their rump has been used so many times, they don't have any muscle control. And I thought, that's just freaking disgusting.
Well, I think the thing is that getting to the heart of the matter is that what you see are outpicturings of the devil, completely destroying the image of mankind that God had initially created, to not only bear his image but his likeness. So what happens, John, when a woman can't get back at her boyfriend in person, she'll tear up the image, right? She'll throw the photograph or tear the photograph up or stomp it or throw it out or whatever. So what I'm saying right now is that's exactly what's going on. And when you abort and allow the murder, it's infanticide. It's not.
Free speech guaranteed. You're listening to the Orion Talk Radio Network.
Flawless Science believes you deserve the right to have a long and healthy life. You deserve to have toxin-free air and water and foods rich in minerals and nutrients. Factory farming, genetically modified foods, and thousands of environmental contaminants are polluting our world and stripping your right to healthy life away from you. FlawlessScience.com helps you regain these rights. FlawlessScience.com makes natural products and provides the best nutraceutical products to enhance your quality of life, your state of health, and well-being. So whether you're struggling with obesity, diabetes, hypertension, memory loss, allergies, high cholesterol, neuropathy, or to spice things up in the bedroom, FlawlessScience.com is here to help you. FlawlessScience.com ships quickly worldwide in discreet packaging and will never sell your information to anyone for any reason. For all your wellness, weight control, extreme muscle building, and nutraceutical needs, visit FlawlessScience.com today.
Have you been diagnosed with cancer and told that there isn't any alternative to chemo, radiation, and surgery? Are you tired of hearing that if you want to survive, you must be brave and accept the suffering that comes with cancer treatments today? LaserMed Inc. says fight back, because now it's cancer's turn to die with its revolutionary patented laser treatment called leash therapy. Without cutting, bleeding, poisoning, or damaging radiation, we can kill skin and breast cancer in place, as well as some other types of cancer, no matter what the size. To find out if you qualify for this therapy, call 918-398-9577. That's 918-398-9577. Or visit www.lasermedinc.com. That's LASEMEDINC.com. Are you a frequent flyer business traveler? Are you tired of paying exorbitant ticket prices to fly business or first class? Well, now you don't have to. Visit flyfirstclass.com to find out how you can travel in style and comfort to hundreds of locations around the world while saving 40 to 70% on your airfare. FlyFirstClass.com has been serving corporate and leisure travelers the world over since 1998. They are a professional company providing professionals with first-class service and total reliability. How about flying from Miami to Paris, round trip per person, business class from $3,300, or first class from $4,600? Or a flight from the 48 states, Canada, or Alaska to South America, business class starting at $3,300, or first class starting at $4,600. Make no mistake, these are flights on major commercial airlines. So before you book your next flight, log on to flyfirstclass.com and see how much money you can save. That website is flyfirstclass.com, flyfirstclass.com.
Hi there, Maxine again, the Orion Talk Radio spokeschick. Here to point out that Orion Talk Radio has a chip-in banner on our homepage. Perhaps you haven't noticed it, or maybe you've ignored it, but it's there for a good reason. Listener contributions help keep the programming you listen to on the air. It also helps defray the cost of running the network, so take a moment to click the chip-in banner and help a worthwhile cause. The banner is located right under the social media links for easy access. This is Max. Thanks for tuning in and chipping in.
Listening to Orion News Talk is even easier to do with your smartphone.
Yo, check it out.
If your cell phone accepts software apps, the best way to listen to your favorite radio is with TalkStream Live or TuneIn Radio. Just download the app and then do a search for Orion Talk Radio. Save us as a preset, and you can take us with you wherever you go. At work, the gym, at the store, or on the road. Anywhere you need to go, we'll be with you. Orion News Talk. News and views beyond the mainstream media.
Hi, I'm Solvenor. Join me Sundays 10 a.m. EST for the Solvenor Radio event on the Orion Talk Radio Network.
All right, we are back with Steve Quayle. You're listening to The Edge. The webpage is johnstokes.info. It is the best news site in the world. Make it your homepage. Tell your friends about it. It's the best because we have all the best contributors, Watchmen. We feature Steve Quayle. What does it mean? Russia Today. All the best. Uncover the news before it's news, and we are not mainstream media. We have an AP link just to show you what kind of propaganda they're putting out there. We're on the final segment here with Mr. Steve Quayle. I want to thank you all. If you have a chance, go to TalkStreamLive.com. You might be able to listen there. You can certainly listen through micro1650am.com. And we'll try and get this up in the archives, and hopefully the quality came through in archives so you can listen to it without the burps and buffering and playing around being zapped. It's covered a lot of topics today here, folks, and Steve and I do not get together just for getting together. And there's a lot of things happening out there. And we talked a little bit about the morality just before we left, and I'm no one to judge anybody's morality, trust me. But I remember a cartoon, Steve, I saw probably 15 years ago. And it was a panel cartoon, where there's some, masses of people were talking in little talk balloons. And they're talking to this voice in the sky. God, we're hungry, we're starving. Send your son to help us. Please come back, Jesus. And the next scene is like, there's wars, they're killing everybody. Please come back and help us, Jesus. Next scene's, diseases, viruses, they're murdering us. Please, Jesus, come back and help us. And then there's a big booming voice comes back out, says, I have sent my son again, but you've killed him 15 times I've tried.
Well, again, that's why we crucify the Son of God, the Lord Jesus Christ, over and over. God even says this is a wonderful scripture, that his name, now he's talking as the God, the Father of Jesus, is blasphemed through the Gentiles that profess to believe in him. So the point being is this is a time for everybody to get right. And again, getting right just means simply repenting and saying, God, I ask you to come into my heart and forgive me my sin.
Help.
His everlasting presence, power, presence, provision, protection. So when I tell people the best word I know in help, that word help can act as an acronym for everything that you need in life. You need his provision. I mean, the devils that don't want to see you eating milk and honey. They want to see you eating Frank and Joni. They want, they're ready to, turn us all into Soylent Green. And people take offense at that and think I'm trying to add metaphors. No, that's what their plan is.
I sent you that over the weekend, and it was one of my stories I'm going to get to Friday. This company, somebody busted somebody in Korea bringing through customs all these pills, and they were manufactured in China, and these pills were human fetuses ground up. They had some warped belief that it's an aphrodisiac or give them a longer life. We're already resulting in cannibalism, folks. They are grinding people up, and it's not just fetuses, powdering them, putting them in gelatin capsules, and selling them on the black market. That's disgusting.
But again, that's what happens when the devil is turned loose and there's no challenge to him by the people of God. Jesus said, if the salt loses its savor, it's henceforth good for nothing but to be trodden under the foot of man. I submit to you, John, that's what's happening to Christianity right now. I can also tell you that the point being is that people have waited and waited and waited so long to speak up, they may never get a chance anymore unless God himself empowers a people to rise up. Somebody says, I'm negative. No, I'm not. I'm a pragmatist. I guess that since I've been, quote, writing and speaking to the tune of 20 years on the talk radio circuit and 40 years as a writer, I mean, I've written a lot of stuff. But the point is that does it fall on deaf ears? No, not all of it falls on deaf ears. But do you see anybody making a difference? The point is that Mao said all true power comes out of the muzzle of a gun. That's not the exact word, but he basically, he who has the biggest firepower rules. Now, every surveillance drone, every weapon, whether they're micro-robotic insects, whether they're nanotechnologically tasked assassins, nano-assassins, the bottom line is it's all about kill, 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 kill. And that's what should make everybody, whether they're friend or fed, they should understand that Skynet can take on a life from itself. And 1 minute you're serving the machine, and the next minute the machine is serving you, not in a friendly capacity, but, basically putting you into the robot that uses organic material to fuel itself. In other words, you become biomass to be converted to energy.
They've got it.
They got it.
There's a TV show out there called Person of Interest where the machine, the supercomputer, can analyze anybody's brain thoughts, facial recognition, retina, and tell you what you're going to do. You're going to be in danger, and, go take out the bad guys is the theme. But from all my intel sources, or from VT, they've got this thing, and they've had it for 10 or 15 years. It's a reality. They telegraph everything through TV and movies that they're going to do. And it's, that's sci-fi. Oh, that Terminator thing, that's just make-believe. Walking through time and space, that's just making believe. We've got it. And they intend to use it on us. This is kind of a metaphor, but you stimulated me a second ago about the sheep. You can do anything to the sheep because they're unarmed. There's a story I heard about this morning. It's in your neck of the woods, I think, or over by Conrad, Montana, about this grizzly bear sow, big old gal. In the last 2 days, she's killed one day she killed 47 sheep, and the next day she killed 63 sheep, all for sport. I mean, you can't eat that many sheep. And where was the farmer? I mean, all it would take, was one gun, and you could have saved the sheep. And I see the population of this country being like the sheep, and I see this machine being the grizzly bear that can do anything it wants at will.
Well, that's why the grizzly bears, or the equivalent of the wolves in Washington, I like the way that rhymes, basically they fear the lone gunman, because the lone gunman says, you know what, I'm tired of watching the sheep get slaughtered. Look, here's you and I both live in Montana.
That's what moves you, Hawk, and I, and Doug up the ladder pretty much.
Well, and the point being, by the way, just as people need to know this, that Syrian forces had fired at a second Turkish plane, and the deal is that, what's his name, the deputy prime minister said that Turkey would protect itself and will respond to the incident. So what you have here is a whole nother world, because listen, in modern warfare, you've got to take out your closest threat before you go launching your efforts on Iran. Israel will have to move on Syria's weapons of mass destruction. That's what brings about Isaiah 17, the burden of Damascus. That's the whole thing that's getting ready to go. And do you know that right now Vladimir Putin is in Israel with 300 of his supporters and his whole cabinet, and they flew in 4 jets? What's that all about? 300?
Israel and Russia are close allies, as much as they pretend that they're not. They're cooking up something.
Well, no, but here's what I'm saying. This is exactly what the Bible says, that there's going to be a hook in the jaw. Well, when you put a hook in a jaw, that is an Old Testament type of going into captivity, okay? The Babylonians used to run a hook, a metal hook, through the bottom of the chin and out the mouth, okay? And then those hooks were chained to another, either rope or a chain, and that's how the captives were led out of Jerusalem, okay, out of Jerusalem into Babylon. So the point being, when you put a hook in a jaw, that literally means that you're going to physically put some type of a device to take people where they would not go under their own volition. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's why they put the ring in the bull's nose.
You got it, in essence, and you can be stubborn as a bull, but just remember this. Bulls end up on burgers with less than a smile on their face, too.
And that's how you control a horse. You put a bit in its mouth, and you pull down on it, it starts to gag it.
Throwing a white blanket over a bull, you may get bull sheet, S-H-E-E, but it's still, the bottom line is the bull is going to end up in the burger, and something is going to be led to its destruction. It's so tragic, John, that the simplest of your illustration of the actual story about the grizzly, it's one thing for a grizzly to kill and eat. It's another thing for a grizzly just to slaughter, because you know what? It's fun. And that's the thing I'm trying to tell people. I've been trying to warn people that for 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen, what is abhorrent to you, what is disgusting, perverted, twisted, hey, that's their playground. That's the devil's playground. You don't
think these guys running the drones and they wipe out 26 people don't turn around to the guy next to him in the next chair, the next screen, and give out a big high five?
Yep. Or in this case, a high 26.
Yeah. Yeah, now you have something about the NATO strike. I didn't know about the second jet. It was Syria shooting down a Turkish jet. Folks, Turkey is part of NATO. The NATO pact says any attack on a NATO nation is attack on all. And it's like they just might as well attack San Diego, allegedly. But now NATO is is in an emergency response meeting right now as we're broadcasting. They are planning on starting another freaking war over there. And Russia and China have already weighed in and say, no, you're not. And we're going to box ourselves in a corner here with bravado and false flag patriotism to take your mind off how bad things really are here. And we can slip into another war on the guise of humanitarian efforts for the rebels.
Right. And by the way, Turkey has invoked NATO Article 4 and 5. Article 4 and 5 basically says that all of NATO must come to the aid of any nation invoking that article.
Shoot.
Yep, shoot would be a good statement.
For radio.
Yeah. But the point is that, and for those who are offended, we're spelling it SHOOT. The point is that this is right out of the prophecies of the Old Testament. And Damascus, let me share something that most people don't understand. The weapons of mass destruction are primarily chemical and bacteriological warheads in Syria's army. But Russia's been giving Syria a lot of pretty sophisticated equipment.
Yes.
So while the Syrians might be serious about this, the Russians will be manning all the high-tech weapons. This is how Russia tests their high-tech weapons in real time and real space. And, John, I just got an email in from Daryl at my office saying, tell people that we have two types of chili, okay? I know this is the last week I'll be able to offer it, having it in stock, but the bison chili with beans, and when the Texan said, what's chili without beans? My answer to him was, hey, some of us can't eat beans. You can add, put it over rice. You can eat a lot of different ways, make literally a bison sloppy joe out of it. It's amazing stuff. But we're down to now about 80 cases of the bison with beans. I think we've got 200 or 300 cases of the bison without beans. So by the end of this week, typically, all the bison with beans will be sold. So please, ladies and gentlemen, call 406-586-4840. That's 406-586-4840. And if you want to talk long-term storage food, you can call them at that number, and they'll help you through. Because, John, again, we know we're going to be starved into submission. King David said he has been young and now is old, but he's not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. Those are the promises of God. And can I tell you what the scripture was today? And a sister in the Lord gave me this, and it literally came into my email as I was praying about, oh, Lord, what scripture would you give me today to put up? And it came up with, it was really cool because it was Psalm 27. You know that even David had to deal with zombies? And when I say that, flesh-eating entities that wanted to kill him, cook him. And I'm talking King David now, okay? I'm not talking David anybody. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemies and foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. David had to deal with zombies.
When you were just doing that, I was getting shivers. I mean, I don't know why. Because it's not cold here.
A host should encamp against me. My heart shall not fear. The word host means the army. So a massive army should encamp against me. My heart will not fear. The war should rise against me. In this will I be confident. One thing have I desired of the Lord, that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple.
And so we've probably got about 7 minutes here left. the financial crisis in Europe, I mean, Greece is gone, it's toast, and so's Italy, so's Spain. And the big boys have already made the run on the banks. That's what this bailout's all about. The banks are not liquid. They can't pay their own bills. They're going under. So they're going to print more money. But the thing is, too, by the time the little guy figures it out, and some have, it's nothing there. Or they're going to give you something that's so worthless you can't buy anything with it. And people don't understand the bank run has already started in this country. And you and I both know people that are still relying on freaking digits.
Absolutely. Again, I want to make something clear. My friend V, the financial source, by the way, if you heard Doug Hagman's show, Doug vetted him, behind the scenes. And I gave Doug enough information to vet him just to prove to Doug that I don't sit around making up people, But he told me this morning, V did, he's the international banker, he said that RBS's computers got hacked. They got hacked. Now, this is the largest bank, one of the largest banks in the world. At one point, it was one of the I think it was number 1. Now it's number 7. And then, listen to this. 96% of the commerce going on, 96% of the commerce going on worldwide between banks are what are called interest rate swaps, better known as derivatives. In other words, there's not even any real money. Now, the Chinese, if you go to Kitco today, you'll see an interesting thing. Somebody, it's funny because I know these guys listen to us. Like when V said it wasn't a question of liquidity, it was a question of solvency. Most people assume they're the same. You can have liquidity by printing money, but that doesn't mean there's anything to back up the money. Solvency means you're bankrupt. And earlier today on the top of Kitco, there was a red banner saying, what are the Chinese doing that's going to transform the face of the world overnight? I'm telling you this, the minute they announce the yuan or the renminbi, they have 2 names for their currency. The bottom line is that it's going to be backed by either just gold or gold and other precious metals. You're going to see the West get a slapping that would make anybody recognize that there is nothing. Because, look, the bankers have bought a lot of different things with their influence and stuff, but the Chinese do know about that.
Oh, yeah, they've been encouraging their people to buy gold, their citizens to buy gold and silver for the last 3 or 4 years. Now, I saw silver spike $1 this morning.
Well, it is because, look, here's the deal in the physical market, and I've literally lived in this world, so I think that I have, the ability to talk about this stuff. When you've got from 26.65 the low to 27.77, that's $1.12, okay? That's the range today. Right now, and if you look at gold, gold's up $11.70, right at $15.85. But what people don't understand is all the manipulation in the market is done in the paper market, not what John Stokes or Steve Selzer has, or 1-ounce silver rounds or 10-ounce silver bars or whatever. But this is happening in the paper realm. So when you've got the Treasury covering short sales by printing digital dollars that don't even have to be printed, the difference between a million and a billion is 3 zeros. So all you do is add 3 extra zeros, and you just change that brokerage account from whatever hundreds of millions to billions. And then you can take those same digits and transfer them to another clearinghouse to cover a trade that went against you. But guess what? You've clipped everybody's wings, you've pillaged everything in their accounts, and now you got the Fed covering for you.
That just reminds me, I've got 3 10-ounce bars that we've been donated to us to help us stay on the air. And if you put $300 in our PayPal account, I will send you out today an A-Mark, and Steve can tell you about A-Mark mints, 99.9 silver, 10-ounce bars, still in the plastic, never touched. And it's a way to park your money, folks. You may not say, oh, good, but take 300 digits and buy something of value with it that could probably help your family. And if you need to go through a roadblock, you got some trading material. I guarantee you they'll let you through. So we got 3 10-ounce A-Mark bars available because we got to raise some money to stay on the air here.
So it's $300 a piece, right?
Correct.
Yep.
And just go to PayPal, and there's a 3% discount. I'll eat it, and I'll also pay the shipping. So that's a hell of a deal, and I'm sure Steve will verify that.
That's an amazing deal. Right now, A-Mark bars as a dealer cost going to cost about $29. And if you can even get the 10 ounces are a great bar. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, he's got them right now in stock, and you can send John a PayPal donation, he'll send it out. Here's what I don't think people understand. Everybody does not recognize that it is an issue not only of the price, but deliverability.
Yeah.
So many people are playing with them. I'll tell you what my international banker said. He said, Steve, if the truth were known on how many people lost literally millions, hundreds of millions and billions on Facebook, he said the market would have to be shut down. In other words, everything is being kept in almost a facade-like manner to prevent the real numbers from being known. He basically said this. He said the brokers, they're all broke pretty much now. He didn't say everyone, but he said the majority of them that he's familiar with are still in really bad financial straits because they lost so much money on specific projects that they thought would be just zooming through the roof.
Now, here's another thing, folks. If you go to johnstokes.info, you'll see a banner there for Steve Quayle's Precious Metals, and he's the only one I promote because these other guys, Midas and all the other ones, and all the ones you see on TV, and Johnny Come Latelys, they don't have it. They don't have the inventory. They promise delivery in 6 to 10 weeks. That tells you right then and there, they don't have it. If they can't send it to you overnight, they don't have it. Steve, when your check clears, this man does not sell anything he doesn't physically possess, and he doesn't keep it on site. Other than
yeah, I said, can I tell you something, though, John?
Sure.
I pay for overnight delivery. Even overnight delivery now, this is really mind-blowing, can take up to 3 days, even though you pay for overnight. And normal registered mail, which should be 3 days, is turning into 5 days, 7 days. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, most precious metals go either FedEx, UPS, or U.S. Postal Service. And so the point being is that the USPS cuts down employees. It just takes extra days to get stuff sent out.
Gosh darn it, we're done. We could do another 8 hours here.
A critical dosage of radiation. So my guess is, and I was told this by insiders, and let them take all that I say to the Lord in prayer and ask, but the zombie protocol is anybody who's left alive above ground other than the elite.
Let me reemphasize a personal story here. Happened Saturday. I built a greenhouse last year for my wife exactly for this reason. Finally she got her one, and it's 25 by 25, so we hope to grow some of our own fresh organic food. I got wiped out 4 times last year by the aphids. This year we thought we had it under control. Plants are coming up. It was looking good. From Thursday to Saturday, the aphids came in and wiped out the spinach, the beets, and the carrots. And, we had to go emergency spray and bring in ladybugs, and they died. And so here you're counting on a food supply, folks, that hasn't harvested yet. You can be wiped out by drought, by radioactive rain, by pests. And so now, we got to start over. It can happen that quick. So the importance of having a backup plan, such as I'm not going to rely on that garden or that occasional deer walking through my yard because he's probably radiated too. It's
producing effect. Then add in the Fukushima radiation, and you go with MOX and the plutonium out there. See, the bottom line is this is the great culling, C-U-L-L-I-N-G. Maybe someone should put out a bumper sticker, ready to be culled, or call 1-800-White House. The bottom line is that we're in a position now, John, where everything has happened at once. I remember I used to get let's just say my fingers crushed. I'll change the anatomy for the sake of those who get so easily offended. When I would say this will not be a linear event. It will be a spherical event. It will all be happening from once. I defined it as this. You'll go to the left thinking there's escape. There's no escape. You'll turn to the right. No escape. You'll look ahead of you to the north or behind you to the south or above you or beneath you. And it will be as the writing on a basketball. You're experiencing all this indirectly. Let me give you an example of how something can be dead but pretend to live. These people that have gotten a lethal dose of radiation, they still are able to breathe, maybe distressedly. They're still able to eat if they can hold it down, but they're in effect, they're dead. You follow me? They've gotten
a kamikaze mission. They won't live. None of the pilots from Russia lived, no matter how much they put lead shields on the helicopters. And Japan gave them permission to use the airfields and get on it. Somebody pulled the plug and thought it was a better idea for us to die. Now, I remember talking to Bob Nichols of Los Alamos about Tokyo. Why didn't they evacuate Tokyo with 10 million people, I think it is, or 23 million people? And they did a cost analysis, Steve. They said it probably cost us way over $40 million immediately. And number two, where do we put them? Because no matter where we put them, they're homeless. They're hungry. They don't have any furniture. They have their clothes on their back. And what will they do with them? And besides that, they're not going to live any longer than 10 years now. So let's not spend the money. So they know they're condemned to death.
Well, absolutely. And by the way, the estimate to move them is in the billions. I think that million is a displacement, okay?
Yeah.
I had heard that the estimated cost to relocate and move everybody was in like $4 billion.
Right. But the thing is, they did a cost analysis and said, it ain't worth it. You're going to die anyway.
Well, I got news for you. That should be the wake-up call to every American citizen above ground who's non-military right now and non-banking or not the elite. Guess what? It's kind of like, guess who's coming to dinner? And the answer is, we're all on the menu.
Yeah. Zombie food.
Zombie food. Hey, by the way, another breaking zombie article. Another one, okay? Woman, high on bath salts. New York woman says, I want to kill someone and eat them. Another one.
I don't know if it's like we said. I think that bath salts.
That's bull. Oh, I'm sorry. I almost said it. That's BS.
Yeah. I think that's just cover for, like, the FEMA and Maine is now planning for a zombie virus. Well, we know radiation mutates things, and it can certainly mutate a virus.
Well, absolutely. One of the things I wrote about years ago in Genetic Armageddon, and I've addressed this so many times on talk radio, what are the interrelationships when you take the chemtrail spraying, that which we know and can identify, versus that which we don't know and haven't identified yet? When you couple that with electromagnetic weather warfare, and in other words, radio waves, if you will, can have a mutagenic or mutation.
Steve and I were talking off air just a little bit, and we can talk about the fire and other things here. But just to give you a heads up, folks, of how they truly want you to die. Chernobyl was open for 10 days, and it was one reactor, and they had it entombed. Now, it's still melted through the core and the bottom, and that's not good, and it's still killing millions of people, mutating animals and plants, and certainly kids. These are 6 reactors. They tell you about 4, but 5 and 6 are in dire shape, too. The 3 reactors have already been vaporized. They don't know where they went. They're throwing cooling water on them. 4 is ready to go, but the first 3 have delivered enough to kill us all. And days after 3/11, the U.S. Army knew how severe this program was. In fact, the aircraft carrier Reagan, I think it was, or Lincoln, was en route to help these people and evacuate, and they ran into the radiation cloud and set off all the meters to get our fleet out of here now. And they did an immediate 90-degree turn to the south to get out of the radiation cloud. That's how bad it was. But they had a plan to entomb these things days after they went off. They know how bad the situation is. You got to get this covered. We'll send help, the tankers, the boron, the zeolite. And they knew the military personnel participating were on a